discuss a bit about literature review. Okay, we'll kind of add a little bit and reinforce to Dr. Nipane's presentation. Ethical issues to consider, putting your research into action, data collection tools, data analysis, sharing your findings, and I would say further, I was gonna say there further kind of analysis, right? With teachers, students, and community, and more. One thing I really want to stress here, again, I think I've been stressing throughout the webinars this wonderful week, okay, is to keep it simple and short, okay, KISS. A lot of us out there this might be your first kind of research project. And it's very easy for people who have, especially who have been doing research for longer and have more experience, we can tend to maybe make it, share our experience, and our experience is maybe more advanced, okay, more further along. And so what tends to happen, I see, is that those of us who are just getting into research for maybe the first time, even if you have a lot of teaching experience, you become a little bit scared, really, all right? And you kind of freeze up, and you don't want to get into, you avoid that perceived suffering, okay? Our brains are actually wired to avoid suffering, to avoid pain. So I want you to realize that first about, our psychology, is that our brains are wired to avoid pain, perceived pain. And so I want you to enter into this world of research, this wonderful world of research, by keeping it simple. Okay, please focus on that. I want us, like anything that, if you can think about anything that you've learned throughout your lifetime, whether that's language, a musical instrument, a sport, anything, okay, you started simple, right? Okay, so that's just what I wanted to say there. I'm going to clear annotations, because, everyone loves to annotate, right? But we're not doing that right now. All right, so first let's get into a bit of the lit review. So as our previous presenter discussed, gave some great resources, and please, in the chat while I'm talking here about these slides, please add any additional resources that you feel could be helpful for research and for accessing articles, journals, okay, information that can help you with your research question. So of course, Google Scholar is one. If you have access to journal databases, ERIC, JSTOR, ResearchGate, remember to use reference lists from articles. That's always good. If you find a good article, go to the reference list, okay? That's basically someone has done the research for you, okay? The literature research for you. So utilize that reference list, okay? And if possible, try to use references that are, more up to date, okay? Not too dated. That's not to say that older, articles and journals and references are not valid, but it's just good to see kind of what the contemporary research is around the topic that you are interested in investigating. Contact authors of articles and presentations directly, okay? You will be surprised about how forthcoming people are to share their articles, to share their perspectives. It might take a little time if they're busy, but don't be afraid to ask. The worst that someone can say is no, or the worst that someone really will say is they just don't respond. And that's usually just because they're busy. Be persistent, okay? Keep on asking. Request help from professors and colleagues around the world. I can see that you have some amazing resources within Nepal, within South and Southeast Asia, just regionally, right? I know within kind of our communities and our countries, through Relo, we have incredible resources for mentorship, right? For just insight. So don't forget about that, all right? Don't feel like you're just isolated. Use our technology here, just email, okay, LinkedIn, Facebook, to reach out and to contact people to ask for some insight, for advice, and for resources. We mentioned a little bit about APA citation guidelines. This is actually a resource that you can use here. It's from the OWL. It's called OWL, and it's from Purdue University. And this is a great resource for, it's a very clear resource for understanding APA citation guidelines as well as other citation guidelines. And also it has actually a citation generator, a reference citation generator. So it helps you to create reference lists, okay, if you want to share those reference lists with your colleagues. Here's some other resources for accessing information around your research topic and question. TESOL Journal, TESOL Quarterly, AAAL. Those are all kind of peer-reviewed journals that you can access if you are looking for that kind of information, right? It's more research-based, especially TESOL Journal. TESOL Quarterly is a little bit more practitioner-based. But definitely AAAL is the American Association of Applied Linguistics. And that is a good resource also. Very international. Then you have American English Webinars, as I shared with you before. English Teaching Forum, okay? That's a publication that is really by teachers for teachers. And again, anything else, please, this is the space here for us to share ideas and resources. Please make sure to share those with our colleagues. Okay, we have researchgate.com. Yes, okay, so keep on adding those both to the Facebook Live and to the Zoom. And we, especially the Facebook Live, I would say, because I think that information is going to still be there in the chat. I believe with the Zoom, it goes away if we don't save the chat. We can save the chat, which is something we might want to do. The host might want to do, but it might be just a good idea to be active and engaged and to write down any information that that comes up in the chat. Okay, here's one example, right? Just around action research. So this is one from English Teaching Forum. This is reflection is necessary condition for action research. So, 2007, you think, oh, that's not that long ago. Well, it's not that long ago, okay? It's not that recent, right? But with that said, it's a good place to kind of learn a little bit more about action research. And I included this article because it's actually a teacher who talks about her action research project, her process of the action research project. It's from English Teaching Forum. I think it's a good resource for you all to just, see somebody else's experience, right, with action research. The more that we know about something, the less that we fear it. All right, so some criteria for evaluating literature resources. So the quality, right? How good is the literature you are reading? Obviously, if you get them, it's first important to access journals and make sure that the article or the book that you're reading is quality. And those are things like, are they peer reviewed? Do they have links to citations? Those are things that are important. That's not to say that blogs and podcasts and websites might not be important, but you don't want to use those as like primary source kind of information, okay? Maybe just to kind of see and learn more insight, but you have to really be careful about the quality of your resources. Objectivity, how balanced is what you are reading? You want to always have researchers, definitely have a philosophy, they have a stance, right? They have opinions, we have opinions. But a good researcher also tries to have a balanced view. And that means maybe providing different perspectives of what was researched in the past, different perspectives about how different researchers view the topic, okay? One good, one great example is through feedback and focus feedback. That was what we talked about earlier. And, you know, that's a hotly debated issue still. There are some researchers that say feedback doesn't help, right? And there are researchers, you know, such as my practitioners, such as myself, that feel like, no, feedback is critical, it's essential, right? So it is a debate. And it's important for us to acknowledge all sides of any topic and be aware of those different perspectives. And it's up to us to kind of prove, you know, what works and what doesn't work and why. Okay, we shouldn't be dogmatic about our beliefs. We have to keep an open mind, but we also, you know, need to test out our philosophies and our methodologies. And really, that's what action research is all about. So timeliness, how recent is it? We discussed that. Quantity, how much should I read? As I said here, for action research, if you're just getting into research, or if you just want to do a side kind of research project, don't overwhelm yourself with too much reading, okay? Try to find, I say, 3 to 5 articles that have different, you know, perspectives on things and that provide multiple perspectives on that same topic, right? So multiple perspectives can be from different parts of the world, different situations and contexts, you know, and again, maybe different perspectives about it. Maybe they agree, don't agree. Maybe it's just not clear. Okay, so look for the quality and the diversity of materials, not so much quantity. And then finally, note taking. How will you organize your notes? So here is one graphic organizer that I found that I wanted to share with you. This isn't the only way, but it is important to stay organized. Okay, so this is a literature review organizer. And it has a place for the source, you know, the title, the problem or scope, right? Methods and procedures that were used. This can be very helpful for you to develop research questions and seeing other people's research questions. There's nothing wrong with you replicating a study, actually using the same problem and the same methods, but replicating it in your context, right? Me doing a research study here in the United States within, you know, my context with my students can be totally different. My results can be totally different than, you know, someone else doing it with different age group, different level of proficiency, different resources. So if you're having a hard time generating research ideas, read some research, do a lit review, and you're going to get some great ideas that you can either adapt or actually replicate. Okay, so look at what the, you know, write down the findings, the analysis, the discussion, and the results. These can just be bullets. Okay, I would say for note taking, don't try to write, you know, an essay. Okay, you're not submitting this to a professor. This is for you and for your reference. So any way that you can organize your notes to help you to understand them and to remember what you wrote down later, because sometimes you might write down some notes and then come back to it a month later. It's important that you understand what you wrote at that time. Okay, send little reminder notes to yourself in the future. Okay, relatedness significant to the researcher's problem. So the research question that you have, how you can integrate that into your research, and its usefulness. Was this useful to you? Okay. All right. So I hope that this graphic organizer is helpful to you. Okay, so I'm just checking the chat here. So again, all this PowerPoint, we'll be sending them out, and I'm glad it's clear for many of you, the screen. If it's not, you know, I apologize. One recommendation I have is to disconnect your cell phone and any other non-essential devices so you're not overstretching your bandwidth. Okay. All right, so we have some steps here now. Step 2 in the data collection. So let's say your topic is on teaching new grammar items. Okay, let's say that's your topic. Well, one idea for collecting data is to audio record classroom interactions or students doing group work responses to see how students are using them. So that's one way of data collection is actually recording. Okay, audio recording is a good idea because it's less obtrusive students feel less intimidated by this, okay, than video. You can also maybe do some note taking with this. Teaching aspects of writing, let's say that's your topic, right? Maybe you want to collect students' texts over a set period of time and monitor and the improvements and gaps in their writing. So this can be a source of data collection. And you can see how all of these are integrated into activities that you already do in the classroom, okay? Using different materials. Maybe you want to use different materials such as like some technological tools, maybe even some different methodologies, okay? Task-based learning. Discuss with students their reactions to the new materials compared to previous materials. So this is more like a focus group, kind of discussion group, where you talk to them about, you know, to your students about it. Maybe you have them journal about it and you take notes and you try to identify different patterns and different themes that come up. Okay, encouraging students to take more responsibility for learning, right? So agency, autonomy. You might ask students to write a letter to a class partner to explain their most effective strategies for learning English. So here, you're identifying what strategies do students use. So this can be a great source of data, of information for you to understand your students and your students' kind of understanding of learning. Let's say your topic is extending students' motivation, okay? Well, you can get students to maybe interview each other about their likes and dislikes about various activities and ask them to record the responses. Again, what a great way to integrate a group learning kind of communicative activity. And hey, you can tell your students, and you should, we'll talk about that later, you should tell your students, hey, you're potentially using this for data. So in a sense, this becomes like a task-based or a project-based activity where you are utilizing your students as informants, as key informants. Okay, so we're gonna talk here about triangulation of data. So you wanna have a diversity of sources for data, okay? And this is gonna help you a bit as well with making sure that what you are observing is checked, right? Is kind of balanced and confirmed from other sources of data. So you want to select appropriate methods for your research questions. Okay, we just talked about some methods there. We'll talk about some as more. You want to consider a range of observation methods, for example, journals, observing, noting, recording, focus groups, right? Surveys, right? These are a range of methods. Excuse me, not surveying, those are observation methods. So combine classroom activities and data collection. We talked about that before, right? Where you want to make this not something separate from what you're doing in the classroom. Action research is teachers, you know, research done by teachers in the classroom. And consider a range of non-observation methods, okay? Such as surveying, interviewing, journaling. So non-observations are those where you don't or actually can see, right, what's happening. And you need to kind of ask to understand what's going on in the minds of your students, right? So some things of surveying, interviewing, journaling can be some good ways for your students to reflect and to share their internal processes of how they're understanding their learning. And incorporate technology into data collection. So this can be through Facebook posts, this can be through blogs, can be through audio recording, can be through video recording, all right? All of these can be very important methods for you to collect data and potentially even to share, okay, your research and data. So here's some more kind of breakdown here of data collection tools, some observable and non-observable. So observable is, what do I need to see? Observation of particular aspects of classroom action, brief notes recorded, you know, comments by teacher during the class, audio video recordings of classroom interactions, transcripts of classroom interactions, or you're right, that you can actually reference back to later. Non-observable, what do I need to know? You can do that through interviews, through asking questions. Hey, what do you think about this, right? Is your understanding changing? How is your motivation different, right? When we use this different methodology. What do you know about technology, right? Hey, why don't you participate in class more, right? So these are kind of all interview questions that can address your research question. Class discussions, focus groups, those have been some, especially when you have built an environment of trust and non-judgment. This can be a very powerful source for students to be very honest and keep recording, right? It's a great thing to record, and you will see that oftentimes if it's a more relaxed environment, people are just more honest, more open, and share things that maybe you did not expect, and maybe they didn't share in more formal kind of data collection settings. Okay, questionnaire and surveys, you can do that online with things like SurveyMonkey, different survey tools. You can use polls, okay? If you're interacting with your students on Zoom, you can embed a survey within a Facebook group as well. And classroom documents, such as students writing materials, speaking tests, formative summative assessments, portfolios, evaluations, anything that you already are having your students do, okay, you can use to address your research question, all right? Again, this makes action research that much easier because you're not having to do something separate from you're already doing. Yes, you're gonna have to take more time to analyze these things, okay, the data, but it's already integrated, and that analysis is actually going to make you a better teacher. Your students are going to appreciate, I think, the experience. I think in my experience, students really appreciate and admire when their teacher is doing research, because they know that the purpose of the research is to make them a better teacher, okay, and to help the students, not only them, but also future students. And what a great model you are being, what a great role model for your students if you are engaging in inquiry and lifelong learning, okay, and in research. If students can see this, they're going to be more open to do things like projects, to collaborate in groups, share your experience with your students, as well as your colleagues. Okay, so I'm going to open up, we got the chat open here, and I'm going to give you all, I'm going to ask you, think of three ways to collect data, observable and non-observable, that will address the research question. Now, I want you to take some time here. Don't just do a one-word response in the chat. And this is true for you, Facebook Live participants. I want you to write your research question here, and then 1, 2, 3 ways to collect data, okay? So I have some examples here. Classroom observation notes, those are observable. Student assignments, those are observable. Student journals, that's for unobservable, okay? So again, think of 3 ways to collect data, both observable and non-observable, that will help address the research question. Write your research question in the chat, and then 1, 2, 3 ways that you can collect data. Okay, so take a minute. That's okay if you take a minute, but I want you to write how you will triangulate your data collection of both observable and non-observable methods. I'll check out the Facebook live stream here. Looking forward to these. Your research question and 3 methods. And you might not want to push enter until you have completely finished. So it doesn't have to be in a neat row. It can be all together. But again, I want your research question, and then following it, 1, 2, 3 ways to collect data. And again, yes, everyone, you will be getting these slides later. All right, I'm seeing a lot of one-word responses. I'm not seeing so much of your research question with then following 3 data collection methods. Okay, so, all right, we have some research questions. I guess it might be a little bit difficult for you guys to put this all together. But remember, don't press enter until you are finished with your whole post, okay? Enter, well, I think we'll submit your, there we go, here we go. Thank you, Pukar. Question, how do students learn English through pop culture? 1, student narration, unobservable. 2, group tasks using pop media, observable. And 3, surveys, not observable, okay, or unobservable. Thank you, Pukar. That's a great model that we can all use here from Pukar. Okay, how does, here's from Amra. Okay, how does, oh, sorry, Amra, I'm trying to read it here. How does divorce influence children's social development? Wow, interviews, observation. Okay. Good, hear from Gayatri. Why my students do not like to speak English. Okay, so interview, group work, role play. Okay, so interviews are going to be key. You know, do some role play. Okay, all right. So this would be something, you know, that again, we want to focus that research question a bit more there. To understand why don't they like to speak English within certain contexts, right? So could it be like within role play activities? I would make that a little bit more focused in your research question. Okay, good job, everybody. Thank you for your responses. This is a good way for you to prepare your notes and for you to kind of brainstorm a bit. What are going to be your data collection methods? Okay, getting permission and ethical issues. So this is something to consider before you collect your data. So you need to, 1, think about whose permission do you need to get for your research. This could be, you know, an administrator, right? This can be maybe from parents if you work with children. Think about the permission that you might need to get for your research depending on your research. Obviously, if it's something that isn't going to be, you know, separate from what you're already doing in your class, it shouldn't be an issue. There are things that you're already doing in class. But you might also need to get permission for things like recording, okay, for doing follow-up interviews. Okay, these kinds of things is you want to make sure that you have the okay to do this, especially if you're going to publish, right? If you're not planning on publishing, maybe it's not that big of an issue, as big of an issue. If you are planning on publishing, you have to make sure that you get permission. Who will be affected by your research? This is something to consider. Are you going to, yes, your goal is to help, right, your students and your own situation, but are there some potential negative consequences for people who are involved in the research study? Okay, if you are saying that, oh, the teachers in my department do not do this and this, is that going to shine a negative light that might be potentially disruptive, okay, in a negative way? Maybe you want to be disruptive, and that's okay too, but you have to understand what are going to be the consequences of your research. Are there any potential negative consequences in addition to the positive ones? 3, who should be told about your research when it's completed? Okay, think about how you want to share that. Are you going to share it with just your students and your colleagues? Are you going to share it with your administrators and your you know, people at your school maybe? Are you going to share it with the community, right? Through maybe a newspaper article or a blog? And do you want to share it with a broader audience? Do you like submitting it to the English Language Teaching Forum or a journal, okay, to NELTA, to any kind of journal and professional organization? So consent forms are something that are going to help you, okay, with all these. So you can Google consent forms, you can request consent forms. Consent form should include the following: the purpose and goals of the research. So those should be very clear. And so you see, you have to do all this thinking before to understand what your purpose and goals of the research are, what the benefits are for the participants, what are the procedures to be followed, and the participants' role in the research, assurance of confidentiality and withdrawal from the research project without penalty. That's very important. With all my research, I always use pseudonyms, right? I use fake names for all of my research participants. So I do not use the real names of my research participants. I generally do not use the location, the specific location, the school name, for example. You might say that you're within a, a metropolitan area, a big city, within Nepal, or a small town or a rural area within Pakistan. And you can talk about, demographics, how many people are in the school, how many people are in the classroom, but you don't want to identify the school specifically, the location, and the students. And of course, a section for the participants who give their consent and their agreement. So this would be their signature. Okay, the next step here is analyzing our data. So what can we learn from the data? What patterns, insights, and new understandings can you find? So patterns is a very big point here. Do you see patterns that are forming? Sometimes those patterns take a while to form, right? Sometimes those patterns change when you get more insight and more data. Obviously, your understandings will evolve and develop, okay? So those are all things that you want to keep note of and document this kind of development of patterns, insights, and understandings. Understand that this is a messy process and it's very cyclical. With that said, try to be as organized as possible, okay? Try to have graphic organizers, try to have a note-taking method, right? Try to have a data analysis method that's gonna help you to categorize and separate and see connections and patterns between your research findings, okay? So one way that I did with this is the research says that, okay, these are different themes to look for. So your lit review can help you to identify what those themes are. Maybe your research question is talking about, okay, how do 21st century technology, ICT tools help my students to improve their listening comprehension? And maybe you can have 3 different tools, right? Or 3 different activities. And so you can kind of start to categorize things under what students say or how they perform under those 3 different activities. So any way that you can help to categorize, our brain likes to categorize information. That's how we sort through and organize information. So let's help our brain to kind of provide some order in the chaos. And lastly here, pay attention to the reliability and validity of your results. So validity refers to the essential truthfulness of the piece of data. Okay, we ask ourselves, does the data actually measure or reflect what it claims to? Does this prove what I say it proves? Okay, so you don't want to manipulate your data in order to get the outcome that you want to get. All right, that's not the point of research. The point of research is to be very transparent and to be very honest. People who read your research are going to appreciate your research if it's honest, right? Both your struggles and your victories, your both, things that have confirmed, right, and helped you, and things that haven't helped you, what you have learned and what you still have to learn, okay? So be honest and be transparent. Reliability relates to the researcher's claims regarding the accuracy of their data. We ask ourselves, is this information an accurate representation of reality? Okay, so discuss your reality as well, right? Is your reality a small classroom in a rural place? Is it a large classroom in a rural context? Okay, is it a metropolitan place? Can these findings be applied to different settings, or you know, do we have to consider the context as well, right? So think about the reliability of your data and understand that, you know, all data has one, the potential to be subjective and maybe not be transferable necessarily. Okay. And it could be, you know, maybe there could be some issues in your data collection. So being honest about your data collection and the limitations of that data collection as well. All right. This is what I really am excited about getting to here, because I think this is what really makes both doing research and reading research the most enjoyable, is telling your story. Okay. So telling your story involves two perspectives. It involves the insider or the emic perspective and the outsider or the etic perspective. So this is this kind of insider perspective here. You want to convey the researcher's perceptions, your perception and experience, or the insider's point of view. You want to tell your story. Okay. You want to allow your students to tell their story. So this is going to give you a rich or a thick kind of description, okay, as far as what your context is, why you're doing what you're doing. You are telling your story of, you know, and who doesn't like to read a story, right? We learn best through stories. So tell your story so the reader can understand what you're talking about more, and write your story, share your story, so you can kind of reflect on, again, why you did the research and why you feel it's important and your process of the research. Number two, to convey the perceptions of the students' experiences and stories. So to convey the researcher's perceptions of the students' experiences and stories. So you want to be honest that you're interpreting the stories, right? This is the emic perspective. This is the etic perspective, the outsider perspective. You want to understand that you are an interpreter, right? You're interpreting the student stories, okay, as an outsider. You're providing the student stories, and maybe you can provide quotes to provide that emic or that insider's perspective, but you want to be honest that you are kind of filtering it through your lens, your perception. Storytelling is used as a method of presenting and analyzing qualitative data. With that said, you can also include your analysis of more quantitative data, like, I don't know, surveys, for example. Okay, that can be part of the story also. The story is being told by the researcher who is in his or her narration of his or her report. It's providing an interpretation of meanings. The narrator, storyteller, or researcher has a story to tell, which ranges from the conception of the problem through designing research strategies, carrying out the study, the interaction with the participants, to his or her own perceptions of the problem. This is why it's so important to journal and to keep a journal of your research experience. So 2 quotes I want to read here. It is necessary and critical to combine the emic and etic perspectives in a storytelling action research report. It is critical that both the voices of the participants and that of the researcher be heard, so that the interested others, the readers, are given the opportunity to evolve their own points of view from the perspectives and could come up with their own stories to tell from those experiences. That's the whole main point of doing the research here, okay? A lot of us think that we have to be so objective and so cold and rigid. I tell you what, that is shifting, okay, that perspective. Now the more preferred methodology is more of a mixed methodology, combining storytelling, the qualitative aspects, with some quantitative analysis, okay, the numbers and statistics. We're providing kind of multiple intelligences and multiple perspectives for understanding this thing, for understanding your research question, for understanding the data, for understanding your research findings. Share your voice, document your story. Share your story. And lastly, therefore, in storytelling presentation of an action research report, the researcher does not just narrate events and utterances, behavior of participants, but also adds his or her own voice, right? You all have beautiful voices. You all have beautiful accents. We all have beautiful voices and beautiful accents. We want to hear okay, that we want to hear your context. We want to hear your bias. We want to hear your perspective. We want to hear about your struggles and your challenges. We want to hear about your victories and your findings and your learning. Okay, so share that through this kind of critical reflection. It's just going to make you a deeper thinker. Okay, and just more professional of a teacher. Okay, so here we go. We are going to get into a discussion group. All right, so in groups, I want you to take notes here, okay, especially those on Zoom. All right, take notes because this is what you're going to have to do in your discussion group. In groups, discuss the following. Your research question. Everyone should have a research question now. Why the research is important to you. Why? Okay, why is this research question important to you? Right? Reflect on that and share that. How the research question might be important to your students. Reflect on your students. How can this research and this research study be important to your students? Share that. Share your context, right? Share your struggle and share your hope. But I want you to start to share your story. We are beginning the conversation here. We're beginning the story. We're beginning your story, okay? So those in Facebook Live, please write your post to A, B, and C in one post. So everything is together, right? Your research question, why the research question is important to you, how the research question might be important to your students, Facebook Live participants, all in one post, A, B, and C. All right, so for Zoom participants, I need someone to volunteer to be a timekeeper. I need you to start and stop after 2 minutes. So each participant gets 2 minutes to discuss. All right, so I'm going to put you all in groups here. Host, I need to be given host.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, this will give you some time here to write down the discussion questions or take a picture. Okay, I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes.
Ramin, please
yes.
Don't forget to give me the co-host. Thank you.
I will not. Thank you. All right, so everyone please remember to unmute yourself, and if you would like, you can share your video as well. But we want to hear your voice, quite literally, okay, and figuratively. We want to hear your voice in this activity. So I'm going to go to breakout rooms. We have 280 participants. Wow, what a fabulous showing that you all have done throughout this whole
and 100 plus participants
series.
In the Facebook Live.
Thank you, and 100 plus participants in Facebook Live. Okay, amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and create the breakout rooms. I'm going to go to options, make sure that you're going to move participants automatically. Okay, the breakout session is for 10 minutes. And I'm going to set a countdown timer to let you know when you have about 60 more seconds. Okay, all right. Make sure to unmute yourself. Make sure to share your story honestly. Okay, and those in Facebook Live, I will be here with you. Okay, here we go.
Hello. Hello, Deep sir. Deep sir. Hello. Hello, Madan sir. I'm Nepali. I think it's Ashok sir. Hello, Ashok sir. Namaste.
Namaste, Azur. I'm managing the thing, so I might not be able to join it.
Oh, sorry. I have seen you here. So, Namaste, sir. Okay, let me talk to Dev Sharma, Madan sir. Hello. We are here to talk why the topic is very important. Do you think that the topic is important?
Yes, that topic is certainly important. Students, most of the students, they hesitate or they don't want to involve in activities, maybe individual activity, peer or group activities. So collaborative learning or group learning is very important as per our present trend and need also. So
Yes, sir.
that can be,
Actually, I
yes,
think all the students of not only in Nepal, everywhere, wherever we are teaching, the students are really very less. They don't want to participate in the classroom activities. Only the handful of students, just three, four students, as a handful of the students are engaging time and again, and other students just stay idle, just listen to other. Yes, this is how they are spending their time, and it's really a great problem and great challenge for us, because we are focusing on collaborative learning, and we are focusing on participatory just approach, but we are unable to participate all the students, isn't it, sir?
yes, right. Certainly, this question is important
Yeah, I
question.
find it important. That's right. What about you, sir? So let's hear one by one. Madan sir, Dev sir, what topic did you prepare?
Yes, why is this question important? Yeah, certainly this question is important because that's the problem we are facing actually. If we are facing this problem, that is important question. It
Yes,
is,
yes.
this
Yep.
problem is everywhere uh, in our schools. That is a very contextual happening scenario is so important. Yes, and Ashok sir.
So, sir, he said, sir, he is busy on
Yeah,
managing. That's why you would not be participating here.
yeah.
And what
And
about?
ma'am,
Yes, sir.
how do you handle this problem? How are you practicing? What is your practice to solve this problem? What efforts have you made over there?
Yes, sir. Really, this we all the teachers have been facing the same problem, right, sir? So I'm
Yeah,
trying to change the method of teaching. I'm
yeah,
trying to change the method of teaching to
yeah,
solve the problem. Sometimes just I stop teaching at the same time if I find that the students wants to stay idle, and I think that the students are not interested in the very topic. That's why they are not interested. So that I just change the topic sometimes, and sometimes I just take them outside, and I
yeah,
just let them do whatever they want. This is what I am doing. And besides, it's not possible to let them do whatever they want, because we are complete to compelled to finish our course as well, right, sir? So in
yeah,
that situation, I'm trying to use the different method to teach my lesson. This is what
yeah.
actually I'm doing, and I know still I am not successful. All the students don't want to, still they don't want to participate.
Yeah, really, but there is some pedagogical problem also to make students involved in group activities or peer activities. And there should be clear instruction on the one side, and the exercises or the project work questions, they should be also very much relevant
Mhm.
and touching to students. That is also one problem, pedagogical problem also. What will they gain by being involved?
Yes,
If
yes, sir.
there should be students are not motivated to such activities. If we want their active participation, there should be provision of marking or
Mhm.
awarding them marks for these activities. That is also one thing I think so, like that.
Oh, yes, sir. That is in the if they are so much involved in the classroom activities, they
Yeah,
should be given some point for this. Score should be given for this, right, sir?
certainly, certainly, yes.
Yes, actually, this we teachers, and if we found the students are very active in the classroom activities, we have the in our school we have the provision of giving merit cards to the students. This is
Yeah,
what we are doing. Those students who are highly doing some good work, yes,
yeah,
then at that time we are giving awarding them with merit cards. Beside that, in the classroom, those who are doing we have the provision of giving 10 marks to the student for doing good classwork and homework, and we
yeah,
can award them from there. This is also we are doing, sir. Still they just don't care, just ignore
yeah,
everything.
Yeah.
They don't
Right.
want our marks. Okay? Let
Yeah.
it be. We will be passed. This is English, and it's sure we are not going to fail. This is what
Yeah.
they think.
Yeah, actually, that some teachers they are playing very unethical roles and practices. Even in practical cases, in practical subjects, students are given 24, 25 marks, even some cases. But in theory, they obtain just just 50, 40, 30%. This is the case. It depends on teachers also. And so students should be conscious. We should make them conscious that they are doing some important tasks for themselves.
Yes.
It is important for them for learning. So that awareness should be also created to students. That also helps, I think so.
Yes, sir.
And
We are.
Yes,
Madan
sir.
Mandal,
Yes, sir.
uh, could you
Sir,
share?
Please
namaste,
share
sir.
something, sir.
Sir,
Namaste, sir.
namaste, sir. Sir,
Sir,
namaste.
namaste.
Namaste,
I,
sir. Namaste, Madan, sir.
I am Madan Mandal from Lahan, Sirha, sir.
Yeah.
I teach in Everest College, Lahan. One problem is, according to my thinking, one day when I was teaching in class 12, and when I was using real pronunciation,
Yeah.
then many students couldn't understand, and they forced me to use whatever their previous teachers, means till 10th class teachers have
Yeah.
had taught them, means
Yeah.
local
Yeah.
pronunciation. So
Nepali.
Yes. Yeah.
yes, so I in the beginning I didn't use local pronunciation, but they forced me to use that pronunciation. But still, if there is problem, then to make them understand, sometimes I have to use the same pronunciation.
Yes.
So is it right, sir?
Yeah, same.
Important to you. So we had a very lively discussion on the Facebook Live. Everybody sharing research questions and why and the how of why the research question is important to you, as well as to your students. So feel free, Zoom participants, to share some of your insights, some of your discussion on your Zoom breakout sessions. Just a reminder that this is all going to be recorded. It is all being recorded right now, both through Zoom and through Facebook Live. So these will be able to access the Facebook Live on the Reload Nelta Facebook site. That is going to have all of the comments there. We can feel free to afterwards to reply to each other to provide feedback on our research questions, as well as post our research questions to get some feedback from our participants. All right. Okay, I hope that you guys all enjoyed that breakout room. How was that? Was that positive? Was that a good experience for all of you in Zoom, your breakout discussions? I hope so. Okay, so I hope you also see and the importance of collaborating. Okay, and this is what we're doing now. We are collaborating with each other to help develop our research. Okay, this should not be a lonely process. This should be something that we do in a community. Okay, so I'm going to move on here. So again, reflect on praxis, reflect on your research process, reflect on your beliefs and values, reflect on feelings and experiences. Those are all going to help you to move forward and plan for the next steps. And then finally, we want to think about, after we, I'm jumping ahead here, obviously, because there's a lot to be said and we have very little time, and I want to make time for Q&A. But you should think about how you want to share, okay, your results after you've written up your results. And this is going to influence, one, how you write up your results. So if you want to share with your colleagues within your school or department, maybe you just want to share your results through a presentation, okay? So this doesn't involve writing a very extensive article. So presenting your results is such an easy way for you to share your experience, share your story, share your results, right? Through presentations. Many opportunities for presenting. You can present on kind of virtually, like online, like this that we're doing. As things open back up, I'm sure there are going to be plenty of opportunities for conferences, both locally, regionally, nationally, internationally. So those are ways that you can share is through just a presentation, right? You can just share informally with your students through a presentation. So showing them, it can be a great model for how to, you know, present. So I would encourage you to share your results with your students and get their feedback. As you're getting their feedback, you're actually continuing the research, right? So you're getting their feedback, you're checking in with them to see how they perceive that. And this is going to be such a powerful tool for you in explaining your rationale as you move forward and teach other classes. Okay, and so you can also share with your community. Hey, you can write an article for the newspaper, okay? You can write a blog, right? You can write a post here within Relo Nelta, okay? Or within any other kind of professional organization that you are a part of and you're part of the world. And this is gonna give you greater voice, and you're going to be a role model and potentially a mentor to people who are interested in doing action research in the future. This is gonna enrich your life, right? Okay, it's more than about money, you guys. Okay, it's about, the enrichment comes at the soul level as well. And of course, with teachers and researchers around the country and the world, a great way to do that is obviously through publishing, all right? And so when you want to publish, well, then you're gonna have to take some more time to organize, to prepare, and to write, okay? Using the APA citations, the organization, and getting help with feedback on your article. And I think that you will see that the more experience that you get with research, with sharing your results, with sharing your presentations, you're gonna get more and more comfortable with attempting to publish, with submitting a publication. And so here, I keep on talking about this English Teaching Forum. And the reason I say that is it's a great way to publish. They are very open and actively seeking, okay, research, not only research, but also just, I should have had it here, but there are different levels of ways that you can submit a contribution. It could be through an activity that you want to share. It could be your action research. It could be different, just, sharing kind of like an idea, an activity idea. There's so much that you can do. And when you're publishing here, then you can share this publication with everybody else, right? This is expanding your voice. It's expanding, sharing your voice with the greater world. We have the tools to do that now. Let's take advantage of them. I have a link here. This is directly to the English Teaching Forum. They're very positive. They're very helpful. They want to support you, teachers. This publication is for teachers by teachers. Here's a link to an article that I published in the English Teaching Forum. This was not an action research. This was more on like using project-based learning, kind of like a methodology article. I actually provided some links too. When we share this PowerPoint here, you can read my dissertation if you want. This is bigger than an action research project, of course, but there are a lot of similarities that I have with action research. So this was actually an action research project that I did with my students, okay? And I collected data through activities that I was already doing. And actually, doing this research improved my teaching tremendously, okay? because I was actually able to see, okay, what ways do I want to collect data? And this improved some of the methodologies and the activities that I was doing as a professor in the classroom. Okay, so that's the dissertation. And here's a link directly just to the PowerPoint, my dissertation PowerPoint, if you don't want to read the whole dissertation. And that can show you things with how I conducted the literature review, my theoretical framework, you know, my data collection methods, how I analyze the data, my findings, you know, everything, okay, can be there. So it could be a good, hopefully it could be a good model for you. I want you to update your KWL chart after this presentation, okay? I want you to write down what you now know about action research. That should be a lot longer. What you want to know about action research, what you continually want to explore and find out about, and what you actually I should say what you still, what you learned about action research from this workshop, okay? So what you learned from this workshop. Okay, so lastly here, it's the last day of the conference. I tell you what, my friends, this has been a very exciting week. It's been very challenging to leading up to the presentations to prepare. But when we challenge ourselves, we grow, we learn, okay? And we receive the benefits, all right, of that work. So I want to thank all of you. Please stay connected. LinkedIn is gonna be the best way to stay connected with me professionally. If you wanna continue staying connected with me through the work that I do with Full Circle Language Learning and Teaching, you can do that there. And of course, follow me, you know, to keep up with me about my work and play. I'm a passionate musician. I'm an intercultural educator, and I use music as a tool to help bring greater cultural awareness and just greater connectivity and understanding on this beautiful planet of ours. So you can stay tuned there. And actually tomorrow, I'm giving a presentation, Facebook Live presentation on the didgeridoo. That's that instrument that I played for you on day one, I believe, of the webinars. It might be a little late for you guys over in Nepal and Pakistan and that side of the world, but it will be recorded. You can watch later. This is if you go to Maharaja Flamenco Trio on the Facebook, there's the event right there. And I'm going to be talking about the didgeridoo and also connections of how to use the understanding of music and music pedagogy within teaching language and culture as well. Here's some resources here, and that concludes it for my presentation. I look forward to your questions. I'm going to give back the host to the Nepal, to the Nelta, okay, and then we can continue here with a Q&A. Let's see. Sorry, I'm doing a little search for you here, Nelta. Okay, so I just changed the host. And I just stopped the share. Hello, Bishwa, are you there? Feel free to ask questions within the Facebook Live as well as the Zoom chat room here. Nelta, I believe I gave you host permissions, so you should have that as well. Feel free to, I'm looking for questions here as well until our colleagues there come back and with us. Yeah, you know, the webinars, I would say go to the American English site, explore the webinars that are there. There are an incredible variety of webinars that you can access, and please take a little bit of time weekly for a little professional development, right? You could just do that through watching one of those webinars and continue to develop yourself professionally, and you'll continue to learn. Let me see if there are any questions here on the Facebook Live. Thank you everyone as well. Okay. Let me see if everyone's okay here. Nelta, you guys okay over there? Maybe there was a little electrical outage, perhaps. So I can just take it from here, perhaps. So here's a question from Saroj. Once we have developed a question, how do we proceed with our action research projects to enhance learner skills? So after you develop the question, that's what you need to do.